What's up, everybody? Welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. We are going to jump straight into it today, and we're going to use marriage reference as like a fire, but like a good fire, not a fire that's damaging and destroying, even though it can be both. But a fire, to get it to a wildfire, which would be like a 10 out of 10 type of marriage, to get it to that, you have to slowly stoke the fire.
Right.
Everything starts with a spark and grows to that. And so many marriages have started in a spark, babe, and like grew to a pretty good fire. But then if you don't keep putting fuel onto the fire, that fire will go out, just like in real life. If you ever had to build a campfire, you have to keep putting wood on it. Build a fire in your fireplace, keep putting wood on it, right? When they put out wildfires, a lot of times what they're doing, they're removing debris on like where it's going to be coming and all of that, so it can't keep growing. And that's the same thing in marriage. And so why we're going to talk about this, guys, is we see so many couples that what the husband's trying to do is do big things to try to connect with his wife. And that right there, by doing it, is like taking a fire or a couple pieces of coal when the fire is about to go out and just putting a ton of big logs on it. It's going to suffocate the fire, and it's not going to grow. But if you have a few sparks, you have to start with some newspaper. You have to have some little pieces of kindling, some twigs, some different things like that, and slowly grow the fire.
You can't smother it.
You can't smother it, or you can't expect this one big thing. You're like, all right, I'm going to find the biggest piece. A wildfire grows by giant trees catching fire. You can't take a giant tree when you have a small little fire and put it on it and think, all right, this is going to be the biggest fire right away. Like, why is this happening? And we see that so often in marriages, babe. So let's flip this into marriage of that is like, how often do somebody come in? You've seen this tremendously. I think we probably used to do this as well. It's like, oh, I'm planning this giant vacation where I'm going to spend all this money, or we're going to go on this amazing date night, or we're going to do this one big thing. And I'm just expecting this bonfire out of it, fireworks out of it. And it's a letdown.
Right. Because there's been nothing that's been happening to build anything up. It's just been not going good in their marriage. And then all of a sudden you do this immaculate, huge, giant thing and it doesn't go well. And you wonder why.
Exactly. So like I was talking with somebody earlier today, and he was just talking about how bad his marriage is, and they've been together for a long time. Let's just put that way, because I don't want to give too many details. And my cat's coming in here, so I'm trying to shoo this cat out here. She might just be joining us today, guys. Anyways, he was trying to grow his. He's like, man, I don't get it. He says, what's for my anniversary? I got like this limousine. I had like all this. We're gonna go to this big concert of this band we used to like years ago, and all of this, and it came down to our anniversary, and on the day of it she was just like, yeah, I don't even really want to go. And he was like, I was just so rejected. He's like, I don't get it, like I planned this big day. And my point was using the same fire thing for him. I was like, bro, you went all out and you were just expecting, like, I don't get it.
Right. That scenario would be great if it was somebody in our marriage, somebody when you're in a really, really good spot, then that would be great. That would be a phenomenal date, but when you're not in a good place, you can't all of a sudden just throw this giant thing at them. And they're like, like, I don't even know what to do. We're not in that place to go do that,
And you think, well, really a concert and like a limousine, that's not that big of a deal. Like, I promise you it is when you're disconnected. They don't want to like have sex with you. They don't want to even sometimes sit on the couch with you because there's such a disconnect, let alone have this giant night where they're going to need to get done up. And then it feels forced on that. And there's levels. You really can only go up one level at a time. And I'm going to use an example that would be like, I don't know, professional baseball. I mean, you could do it in football or you could do it in anything, but you just can't go like professional baseball. You get drafted or whatever, you go, there's single A, there's double A, and there's triple A minor leagues, and then there is the major leagues. But then even in the major leagues, you can become an all-star, then you become an MVP, right? And all of that. You can't be a high school player and just being like, I'm just going straight to the big leagues tomorrow. Like, it doesn't work that way. You are not at that level, right? You are not at that spot. I remember one time somebody like And One. I don't know if anybody remembers And One basketball back in the day. It was these trick basketball players, and they were really really good. They would do all these. They would play as a team. They would travel around. They could do crazy dunks, and their shooting was really really good. They could dribble the ball like really really good. And I remember they did a documentary on it, and they said the best player of that team wouldn't even sniff the bench in
Mm,
the NBA. There was one person on that team that eventually made the NBA, but he was already that NBA type. He was still playing on teams. None of those other guys would sniff,
mm,
could even sniff the NBA. There's a lot of guys in marriage right now that are straight wanting to go straight to the top levels without growing that there. You can't go from being a high school player to a major league baseball player. You can't be because you're playing good on the basketball at your local rec league and think like, oh, I could probably play for the Lakers. That's what people are trying to do when they do these big trips. And they're
yeah.
like, well, you know what? Our marriage is really disconnected. I'm just going to do this Mexico trip. I'm going to take her. We're going to like spend all this money. And then it's like tension, frustration, disconnect, and then you don't have that great time. You spent all this money. Now you're having resentment because you spent all this money and it didn't go well. And then that she's feeling like, well, I want to try to have a good time because I know he spent all this money, but then we're not really in that spot. And then like it's just this weird dynamic. You can't do that.
Right. And it's adding so many expectations on each other too.
A ton.
Oh my goodness.
And so if you're in single A baseball, you then go to double A and prove yourself. Then you go to triple A and prove yourself. Then you go to the major leagues and prove yourself. Now, in real life baseball, some people move through those ranks pretty quickly, but they never just go from high school straight to already playing in the big leagues day one. You always go to the minor leagues and then go to double A and then triple A, and you just work your way through those ranks really fast if you're that good of a player, but you do not just skip minor leagues. You
Mm-hmm.
have to go through it. It's the same thing in marriage. You have to go through the ranks. And so that starting small with just connecting again, of just being fun to be around again,
Mm-hmm.
of just talking again. And then you build that to the next thing where, hey, maybe we'll actually just go on a walk tonight. Like that's a big step for a lot of
Yeah. Where
people.
you have to actually go out and communicate with each other when there's no other distractions.
Then you do that consistently. And once you've proved that, then maybe you add in a date where
Mm-hmm.
you're like, hey, maybe, this week we go on a date.
Yeah. Like a dinner date, not like a full on some big excursion
Right.
limo thing. Like, just, let's go grab some dinner or go grab a
The
walk in the
next
park or
step
something.
might be like doing it with couples first because
Right.
she's not even ready for you to take her on a date yet because it's still awkward. So you do it with couples. And then you work it to where it's like, hey, let's just go out and we'll go to catch some dinner. And then you work your way through these ranks.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot come out and just smother and then do all these things with these big moves. You have to work your way there, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I
that
mean, if you suffocate the process, if you suffocate your spouse by trying to do too much too quick, it's just going to backfire. It's just going to go down the wrong direction, and then you're going to be starting over almost even lower than you were before.
right. And so it's the same thing as the gym. Muscle memory is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
But just because at one point in time, let's say you used to be a big gym rat and you could squat 400 pounds and you did it pretty consistently, or you could bench press, 225 10 times. But then let's say, you got out of the gym for 5 years and then your first time back in there and you're like, dude, I used to rep, 225. I'm just going to slap it on there and just see what happens. Chances are that bad boy ain't getting up and you're going to crush yourself if you don't have a spotter. But you've got to work back up to that weight. Now, because of muscle memory, it'll come back quicker,
Mm-hmm.
right? But at the same thing in marriage, it can come back quicker, but you still got to do it. But the difference in marriage is that there's probably been a lot of hurts,
Mm-hmm.
frustrations, resentments. Now, same thing with bench press. If you go to do that, what that would be injuries. Maybe you've had a shoulder injury, so you can't put up 225. Now you have to start at 135 and work your way there. Really strengthen your shoulders, really strengthen your pecs to get back in their proper form, all this. And then eventually you'll get back up to that weight. But that's just us having all these other injuries to be able to do that. And that's what's in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
People put these giant expectations out there and then they expect, well, why isn't my wife just like, Diane and Tommy, they're just having all this crazy sex. My wife needs to be having sex like them. Bro, we've put in the work, the
Right.
reps to be able to have that. We
Yeah.
didn't always have
No, we've
this.
worked our way up the ranks like you're talking about to get to that point, just like everybody else has to do.
Exactly. So people really, you have to take it slow and you have to work your way there because you're just going to set yourself up for expectation.
Mm-hmm.
It's even with sex. It's like, you can't just like, if you guys aren't best friends, laughing and joking and like on the same page with vision for your life and marriage and spending good quality time daily with each other, equally yoked in the faith, like all of that. And you're just like, sex, 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 sex.
Mhm.
You're going to the major leagues at that. That's what major leagues is in the marriage
Mhm.
aspects of it. And so you have to be able to do that things. You're setting yourself up for letdown. You're setting yourself up for frustration
Yeah.
because it's not going to happen. You do all of those things, this will happen. You do all of those things in any aspect of like business or life or anything, good things will happen, but you have a proper order
Mhm.
that you do them and you get out of that order. You cannot jump steps in that and expect to get something over here. You still have to do all of that and you get this. Do all of that, you get this. But most don't do that. And then they're like, I just don't get it. What do I need to do? And that's where churches get it wrong. That's where counselors get it wrong. That's where so many people get it wrong. They think you just need to bring date nights back in. No.
Yeah, yeah, they go right into that. And you hear people say that all the time, even like professional people, like I see other, you know, coaches and counselors and different things for marriages, and it's like, oh, you got to do that once a week date night, and it's like, well, not if you haven't been doing that and haven't been doing it well.
Right. Or if you're not connecting on the daily,
Yes,
you have
yeah,
to be at a great spot
mm-hmm.
for that to happen.
Right. Otherwise, you're going to go to dinner and you're going to sit there and there's going to be crickets, or you're going to talk about the
And that's
kids.
not enjoyable.
Right.
Then you're like, well,
No,
I don't want to keep doing this. It seems forced.
awkward. Right.
It's awkward and it's forced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then it's like, I don't want to keep doing this
Uh huh.
because, and your wife will come up with excuses why she doesn't want to, or you will because you're like, oh, this really ain't that fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's just like if you're in a boring Bible study and it's like lukewarm dudes or women and you're like, this ain't all that great. But if you come in one where it's passionate and there's challenging and there's vulnerable and there's emotion and guys are getting their life rocked and all these other things, you're like, man, I want to come back to this.
Right.
But if it's just and it's boring, nobody wants to keep coming back. That's why churches that are lukewarm and ain't really transforming lives, everybody's like, dude, oh, Sunday, I gotta go to church today. Keyword, I gotta go to church today.
Yeah.
And
Not I got to.
right. That's what it is in date nights. Well, I guess we gotta go on a date night because that's what we're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even do date nights. That's
Not
what's
very
crazy.
seldom.
Guys, we have a 10 out of 10 marriage, and it's not bragging. That's got what God has help us to design and put
Right.
us together so we
Mm-hmm.
could be possibility for others and show the actual template. The world do not conform to the patterns of this world. We don't do date nights.
Mm-mm.
But yet you're telling us, well, why is that the first thing everybody's telling them to do? We can throw those in and they're great from time to time, but we don't need them because every single day is awesome. It's the same thing with vacation. I always tell people, create a life that you do not need a vacation from. But so many people, even if their marriages are okay, just look forward to, oh, when we get to go on this extravagant vacation. Well, then they get to go. Then there's a letdown because you come home and you're like, oh, back to the grind.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, well, let me work my butt off for another 6 months and then I'll take a week vacation. Let me work another butt off for another 6 months. I'll take a week vacation. And it's like, dude, no, your life sucks because you're living for 2 weeks out of the year. I live for every day of the year
Yeah.
because every day I create a life that is every single day a vacation for me because my life doesn't need a vacation from it. We go on vacations and it's cool, but it's a lateral movement for us. It's
Mm-hmm.
not something that makes our life better. It's just a lateral movement. It just mixes it up and makes it different. But our home life is so amazing. We don't need a vacation. Just you make your relationship so good that you don't need a date night or you don't need this giant stuff. Then you can mix it in and it makes it cool to have extra things like that on top of it. But it's not the glue that keeps it together.
Mm-hmm. Or the start back up when things haven't been good.
You can't put a giant log. What the daily stuff is just constantly. So you can have a nice size fire if all you did was just sat there all day and put kindling, um, and newspaper and twigs. And if you just sat there and do it and just did that all day, every day. And that's what a marriage is. It should be like this all day
Mm-hmm.
thing that you're just constantly in
Like
tune, flowing
replenishing, you know?
with each other.
Yeah.
It's just when you just take a day off and you're like, oh, I'm going out with the boys today and we're just going to play some golf and we're going to get smashed. And then tomorrow I'm going to watch football all day. And then I don't really feel like going to church. And then, you know what? Honestly, she likes The Bachelorette. And so I don't really like that. So I'm just going to watch Monday Night Football and she's going to go watch that. And then and so then you start living a separate life.
Yeah. Then 4 days have gone by and you haven't even connected with each other, had a conversation, or done anything together.
But hey, we'll go out on a date night on Thursday, and then we'll talk somewhat, and then maybe we'll even go to the movie, and then we're not even talking or connecting in that moment, or we're going to bring other couples, and then we're not even connecting with each other, and then it's like, well, yeah,
And then, hey, why aren't you having sex with me?
right, because they're not even interested. They're not. After a while, you need to keep that growing.
Hmm.
You need to be different, so they're actually interested
Yeah.
in you differently
Hmm.
on those things. And so it's so huge, guys. You have to get it to start to the basics to grow it to the bigs and stop being frustrated because the bigs not happening. It's the little, minute, small things that add up.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think this is just a question for you. What would you say is a couple of things just off the top of your head that you're like, these are just the needle movers for women, for the men can do that are just on the daily, that are going to fill up our cup, that are going to be the kindling, that are going to be the newspaper, they're going to be the gasoline, they're going to be all of that. That's just daily, day in and day out, that are going to grow it. So then we can do those big things, but it's going to be the daily factors for them to do.
And and I think it goes both ways. I don't think this is necessarily just for women. I think it's for women doing this for men, men doing this for women. But I think there's a lot of things. I mean, it's affirming each other every day, telling each other you love each other, give each other a hug every day, go for a walk together, communicate, have conversations, spend quality time together, um, do little things like leave notes for each other, like little things to start connecting and doing things for each other that you're showing the other person that you see them
Right.
and hear
Being
them, listen to them.
right, and being playful and
Right.
fun and
Yeah.
enjoyable to
Yes.
be around. So you
Yes.
can't just go stress yourself out at work all day,
Mm-hmm.
come home, give the wife a peck on the cheek, because that's just cutting it. So it's,
Yeah.
you can do all the things that Dianne just said, but you can do them at a low level as well.
True.
That
Yeah, you're
single A
right.
ball
Yeah.
versus high level.
Yeah.
There's levels. High level husband, we are at the top.
Yeah. Come in with joy when you do all of those things. Come
The
in with
kiss is a longer embrace.
yes. Yes.
It's when you tell somebody you love them, great. Why do you love them? Is like, man, babe, I just gotta say, every time I come home, you always just look good. That, or you just have a smile on your face. You've got something prepared for food or whatever it is. That's simple
Yeah.
and things, but you're always like, man, I just love it the way you do this and this.
Yeah.
The way you've been helping the kids so much with their schoolwork lately has really been standing out. Like you can take it to the next
Yeah.
level.
And I appreciate all of your things that you're doing.
Right. So not just saying, hey, I appreciate you. Why do
Mm-hmm.
you appreciate
Mm-hmm.
you? When you hug for 6 seconds instead
Mm-hmm.
of one. If they ask how your day was, don't just say good. Say it was good because of this. You won't know. I work with Danny, and Danny came in today and he was da this. And then I was like, blah, 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 blah. And then you go down that road and then you're like, tell me a little about your day. And then they're used to you doing that. So then they all open up more. But if they just say, oh, it was good, they'll feel awkward because
Mm-hmm.
now you just opened up and they said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're going through those. So there's high levels ways of doing that.
Yeah.
You can be fun and playful. You can do all of that. That just makes you a joyful person to be around, because that's what somebody is fun. Most of the people we work with, I'd say a good portion of them are entrepreneurs, CEOs, people like that are just those type of people. But so they go out and take territory all day. They put this pressure on themselves, and then they come home and they're exhausted. I get
Mm-hmm.
it. It's exhausting what we do. But at the same time, we make sure that we have that time for each other. So our cups are full
Mm-hmm.
with God, with you, with our physical health, with our mental health, and our relationship with our kids, that I get to be playful all day. Guys, we have an insane amount of people that we lead. Like imagine having marriages that depend on you and not just three or four. I think
A lot.
right now, just in our that we're specifically coaching right now, I think we have 70 people that we're leading in their marriages. Imagine 70 marriages that are dependent on us.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But how is it that I can still be playful and joking with my wife, and we're still like doing all these fun things, and just with our kids, we're playing games, we're doing all this stuff. And I just be like, oh, I'm so stressed. Oh, I'm just so stressed. And so when you take it to the high level, is not letting that stuff rob you of those other things, because if God brought you to it, he'll see you through it. He gave me this ministry. And what Paul says is, my grace is what God told Paul when Paul was stressed and had his thorns and had been through so much. God said, my grace is sufficient, for my power is made perfect in weakness. So I can't do all that on my own. I can't have
Mm-hmm.
70 marriages on my own. That's why I have
Mm-hmm.
people with me on a team.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I speak with such authority, because it's of God. So when you bring God and allow him to be your strength, good things happen
Mm-hmm.
on all of that. So guys, there's ways to do these little things daily. And so many guys come in and they're like, I've done that, man. It doesn't work. You've did it for a freaking week, bro.
And then wonder why she wasn't all over you.
And maybe you did it for 3 months, but during that 3 months, it was 3 days a week or
Mm-hmm.
4 days a week, or hit and miss on those things. One day you told her you loved her and went a little bit deeper, but yet you didn't hold her, embrace her, kiss her, open up on other things, and you
Right.
mixed and matched. Well, guess what? Like now you're barely doing
Right.
anything. It'd be like me if I'm trying to lose weight and one day I drank 6 sodas and the next day I didn't, but that day before I went for a 20-minute walk and I'm like, why am I not losing weight?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day I don't go for the walk. I go for the walk, but then I don't drink soda. And it's like, no, you've got to do all of those things that add up. Any person who does fitness will say, you got to know roughly what your macros are. You got to know how much calories you're intaking. You got to know how much calories you're outtaking. And as long as you just do that consistently over time, there's 0% chance that you will not lose weight. That's what we're at in our marriage. I just know 0% chance that there'll be an argument, 0% chance that I won't have all the sex that I want, 0% chance that all that will happen because I show up every single day. I know the macros in our marriage stuff. I know how much I'm putting in. But I'm not putting into what I can get out. But then I also know all of that stuff. So it's a proven formula. But when you're just mixing and matching and don't even really know, and then it's like hit or miss, it's 5 out of 7 days a week. And it's that, which is only a 71% score. Dude, no wonder your marriage sucks. So it's got to be just the simplest little things that's not about you and it's moving you forward. And one of the last things is this. Zig Ziglar said this. I'm going to give you a quote that he said. He said, you can have everything you want in life. So for you guys, that might be all the sex, all the joy, your wife's just joyful to be around. You can have finances. You can have amazing relationship with your kids. You can have all of this stuff. I'm just putting that in there. So I'm going to start the quote again. You can have everything you want in life if you will just help enough people get what they want. So
Good.
you can have everything you want in marriage if you just help your wife get everything that they want. But most people, it's like, what I will give what she gives.
Mm-hmm.
If I give this, I expect this.
Yes.
If I work really hard, I expect her to have the house spotless and dinner on the table and her dropping her panties every night from me because I work hard. Bro, if you think that, you right there are at the bottom of the barrel, my dude.
You don't deserve her dropping the panties.
Your wife ain't trying to give you nothing, homie. And that's just the truth. But when you're like, I'm doing that because I want to see you thrive,
right?
Because I love you,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't care if you ever give me sex again. That's when you're going to get unlimited amount of sex.
You have to go into it with that attitude.
And so, guys, you can have everything you want in life if you will just help enough people get what they want. Like, what if that's all you did every day? Mm-hmm. Just how can I help other people with nothing in return from me? Nothing in return.
You'll get so much more in return because you're not expecting it.
Most people in marriage are like, okay, it's Christmas, and I'm using this example. I'm bringing in here's the 20 things I want for Christmas. All of that stuff. Here's my list. Get them for me. Oh, you have yours? Cool. I had 20 things on my list. You better not have 24 because I'm not getting you 24. I'm going to give you 20 what I had, but I better get what all I want on my list over here. If you did that, you would be like, what the heck? It would just not be. But that's what marriage is for people.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage is giving.
Mm-hmm.
I have 0 on my Christmas list, and maybe you have 20. Dude, I'm stoked to give you 20. That's not our real scenario. But
No,
I'm
right.
saying,
I'm like, I hope people aren't thinking that I have 20 things on my Christmas list.
You have none. You literally have 0.
Yeah.
I have 0.
Yeah.
Guys, there's been so many Christmases. Me and Dianne have got each other nothing for Christmas.
Gave to the kids and gave to other people.
And because
we give to each other every day.
Every day is like Christmas. If Dianne wants something and I know it because I listen to her and she really wants something, I get it for her.
Right. I don't say go ahead and go get that thing that you've been wanting because it's okay.
I don't have to wait for everybody. This is they try to do a big log on their anniversary, on Valentine's Day, on Christmas, on the birthday, and they only get them something for that. And then they're like, well, why? That's why I should be getting laid tonight, or I should be this. It's like, man, we don't get each other for nothing. not because we can just buy whatever we want, but that the finances are right, we'll get those things. And you
Mhm.
know, if you're asking for those things, if we have the finances, or if maybe we don't, or it's a stretch, or maybe I'll sacrifice something for myself that I know I've been wanting and I just won't get it. And I'll just go ahead and purchase it for you. And then when you're like, hey, I don't think we could afford this, I'll be like, yeah, but I was wanting to get that, this. And I'm like, well, I'm just not going to get that right now. And you'll be like, no, 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 I want you to get it. I'm like, babe, it's totally good. You keep yours. But then guess what? Eventually, later down the line, you'll surprise me with something and you'll have sacrificed something for you. But it's not like, what am I going to do for you? It's just like, what can I get out of this? That's high level marriage. Middle level marriage is like, I give you this, I get that. Low
Mhm.
level marriage is, I get whatever I want and you just be appreciative because I'm an amazing person.
Right, because I work hard.
Like, yeah, so don't get me started on that because
Yeah,
I'll
we
freaking lose
better
this
stop about
microphone
about
on
now.
fire for the dudes who think they're an amazing husband because they work hard and provide a good living. You got you cool
Provide
you
the money.
Yeah, you got about 10% of what makes a great marriage. Providing isn't just money. Providing is laughter, providing is love, providing is encouragement, providing is spiritual leadership. It just keeps
We
going
could do a whole podcast
on
on that.
just what providing actually means
Mhm.
in those things. And so, guys, I don't know if you're listening to this, I can be challenging, but it's because I was in those other spots and I just want the best for you guys.
Mhm.
I truly, truly just do. I know there's so many men who are broken,
Yeah.
and God's given this as to us, this blueprint. One, it's all biblical, and two, he just shows us, because you guys know I've just talked about it here. All I pray for is wisdom, knowledge, and love, and for God to show me great and unsearchable things that I do not know, which is Jeremiah 33:3. And so, because of that, he gives us the blueprint, and it's because it's all just to serve. And so, guys, I whatever your authority is, I come to you for that. But this is our authority, and understand that it's of God. So it wasn't we just one day decided that we wanted to do this because other people are doing it and it looks fun.
Mhm.
Believe me, guys, there's plenty of days that I would rather just go down to the gas station and pump gas because there's zero pressure on my back other than just like pumping gas. But I do this because this is what God created me to do. So we have the authority in that. And so I want the best for you guys.
Mhm.
I literally talk to guys every day of the week and they start telling me the story. And I'm like, I know how to fix your marriage. I know how to fix your marriage.
Mhm.
And it's different for the different guys. There are different things that they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is where you're doing it wrong. Do this, this, and this. Here you go. I can write a prescription for you. Boom. There you go. Fix your marriage. Do, do, do. Fix your marriage. And if that's you guys, we're going to have a free resource down below. Check it out. Um, Watch it, implement it. It'll change your life. And then number two, what we just love, man, if you guys could just rate this podcast 5 stars, it really does mean a lot to us.
Mhm.
It helps us grow and it helps reach more people, because there's plenty of people who can't afford to work with us. Well, everybody can afford to work with us. Let's put it that way. Who think they can't afford to work with us and aren't willing to invest in themselves. And so what I always tell them is, hey, you can listen to my podcast and it's free. So this would reach more people to be able to help them. So anyways, guys, God bless you. We love you and much love.
Bye.